What we have here is a failure to communicate. It is a very famous movie line, especially if you're my age. Cool Hand Luke, Paul Newman, amazing movie. Definitely, if you haven't seen it, see it. If you have seen it, go watch it again. But there's a line in that movie by one of the main characters, one of the bad guys, who says, "We have a fail. What we have here is a failure to communicate." And I'm realizing more than ever that we have a failure to communicate when it comes to leadership and in our organizations and teams. And what I mean by that is we are seeing things completely different, completely different. Recently, I was doing some research and looking at what are some of the top issues facing companies and in 2026. And it was interesting, not surprising though, although I guess it was surprising. I didn't expect to be the contrast to be so great in that when I looked at articles and research that had been done from the company's perspective, from the HR perspective, the issues were A, B, C, D, and E. But then when I looked at what were the issues and concerns coming from the people side, the team side, the issues were X, Y, Z. In fact, I looked at a couple articles and then I started looking at more and realized that there's no overlap. Now, there might be some relationship in that if this issue gets solved on this side, it helps address this. But if you looked at those and you said, here's what the companies are looking to do, and here's what the people want the companies to do, they do not line up. They do not line up. That's a problem, folks. That is this massive, I'm going to call it a leadership disconnection. And in fact, in one of the articles that I read, they were talking about from the people side of it, from the team side of it. This is what they talked about. They referred to it as a widening employee leader disconnect. The quote was, there's this growing disconnect between employees and leaders. It's showing up in employee reviews. It's showing up in increased disconnection and a lot more issues around misalignment, distrust, miscommunication, hypocrisy, leaders not walking their talk, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the basic issue. If the company says these are our priorities when it comes to our team, and our team says these are our priorities when it comes to us and what we're looking for from the company, this is not going to work. This is not working. This is the evidence of what I call the leadership gap, because the leadership gap is responsible for this gap. I'm going to say that again. The leadership gap is responsible for this gap, not only the existence of it, for taking responsibility to close that gap. So let's get real simple, folks. Leaders, it's time for you to see your company, your team, your dynamics, your culture from the perspective of your people. You are solving your problem, not their needs. Let me say that again. Employers, you are typically solving your problems, not your employees' needs. That is not only a short-term problem and a disconnect, but a long-term failure. So find a way back to seeing each other's perspectives. And let's face it, leaders see their people's perspective rather than leaders expecting their people to see the leader's perspective. It works both ways, but who's the leaders here? That's it. Have a fantastic rest of your day and enjoy this holiday week.